Was watching this video by this psychologist. I don't know her exact title. I can't. Oh, she's a doctor. Oh, Dr. Romani. I've watched her videos when I was going through a breakup, the longest relationship I had ever had, and was going through that breakup and was feeling like I was a bad person because I wouldn't bend to this person's will. So it's funny that this video pops up because I was just talking about that ex in another recording. So it's got Dr. Patrick Tahan. I could be butchering that, but Patrick Teahan Tehan. They're talking about what is the most definitive symptom of childhood trauma. And basically, it's trying to feeling the need to bend a difficult person, or trying to reel in a difficult person. And being on the flip side of that, I was the person who people would try to reel in. They liked my rebellions. Is that the right word? They like how rebellion I was and how free I was. So that attracted them to me. I honestly think it's a part that they wish that they could be like that without fear, without judgment, without anxiety or whatever. Because I used to think before, I used to act before I thought. Now I'm getting back into that. Of course, now I've grown. I know when to act and when to think over things, but I'm leaning more into my fun side because I did like not overthinking things. And being with those type of people caused me to overthink things too much. I started to procrastinate because I was always overthinking, which I never used to do. So now I have to find a healthy medium where I know what I feel, I know what I know, I'm just going for it. So that's what I've been working on. But being around those people, my father was that person, my godfather was that person, my mother was that person, my exes was that person. I had friends who were always trying to reel me in, and I thought that was just how people work. They always trying to control you, always trying to slow you down, always trying to, oh, you're so fun or you're so funny, but let's not do that. And not into you being loud and rude and, you're not considering other people's spaces and stuff. Not that. But literally anything that's outside of their perfect little box because of their own trauma, they try to fit you, stuff you into because either they weren't allowed to do that, which is fucked up, or they were scolded for that. I was scolded for that, and I still, when teenagehood hit, child, I leaned into that energy even more. That's that fieriness in me. Like, I'm not disrespecting anybody. We ball. And I was definitely that into my early 20s. And I'm getting back to that, honestly, because that's the energy that made me feel life. That made me feel alive when I would have no problem acting out on my desires. And around that time, I became a little bit more refined in how I did things and the decisions that I made. So it was never going to cause me too much harm. And even when I did think things through, I came in contact with people who saw things in me and they still try to smother out that light. So for me, it was a lose-lose. So that's how I'm over 30 and I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm doing what the fuck I want. Because I try to think things through and still have people try to dim my light, and I acted first and still have people try to smother out my light. So either way, I'm doing me. I'm being kind and I'm doing me. So basically trying to reel in a person because their family or something was very narcissistic. Now I was kind of that, but I didn't have the attention span for that. There was a girl she was very immature, very immature. And I was immature, of course, teenager, but I still had a certain level of a thought process because of how I thought. There was like when it was a restrictor. I'm saying Saturnian or whatever. I'm ruled by Saturn, so it was a lot of restricted energy around my life, which is why I always bursted out, which is why I was always rebellious. And the authorities in my life could see that, and they would always say, you're so smart, you're so this, you hold yourself together so very well, but basically if you restricted yourself more, you would be just like me. And I would see them looking constipated and I'm like, I don't want to be like you. So there's a lot of people who are, sharing their experience and they're like, my narcissistic family, I was raised by a narcissist and this, that, and the third. After 50, 60, 70 years, I try to do that, trying to get the difficult person to be good to me. And it also depends on the person's definition of what good is. Now, you have full blown out abusive, of course. And to me, even not showing people love is when you know that they want it, that is, to me, that's abusive. That is like, you have some issues there or whatever. But there are some people who are so much stuck in victimhood, and I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist, anything like that. I just like to talk. And I like to observe people as well. There's so many people who are so much stuck in their victimhood that even when they are getting those things, it's not enough. They turn avoidant, and I've seen that too. Because the moment somebody finally get what they want, and that difficult person finally bends to their will, and they finally turn that difficult person, now they run. It's the cat and mouse with the cheese. You finally get the cheese, and now you don't even actually want it. Because I've been on the other side of that. I've done exactly, friends and authoritative people in my life. I've done exactly what they wanted, how they wanted, and they still weren't happy. So that's when I learned that it has nothing to do with me and the things that I do, and has everything else to do with other people. If I'm kind and respectful, and I speak about my boundaries, because you don't have to tell people my boundaries are this, 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 and this. If you say no, if you say I don't like that, if you describe it, it doesn't have to be the exact word no, or I don't like that. It could literally be like, I really hate when people leave a corner of juice in the refrigerator. Or I hate when people drink out of the community mug, community jug or something like that. I don't drink juice like that. But something like that, that's a boundary. I don't like when people do that. If I'm not there because I can say what I want. If somebody doesn't pick up that that's a boundary, I think they're a little slow. They're a little slow. Yeah, a little slow. And they have to work on that. I'm a little slow sometimes too. I had issues putting together a desk yesterday because I read the size of the screws as the quantity of the screws. So it happens to the best of us. So every time I was rereading the directions with my roommate, I was like, okay, that's okay. It needs 2 of those. 2, yep, got 2. Like, I kept having to read it over because sometimes that happens, but you don't always, depending on how the person communicates. I'm sorry, I don't have the patience at this point in my life to have to keep spelling out my boundaries to people. I don't. I have a short tolerance for that shit now, because I've been in situations with people that try to get me. They try 50 million different ways to go around my boundaries. And when people hear boundaries, they think just sexual. No. Phone conversations. How many times people call me, blowing up my phone with text messages, needing to know where I am 24/7. Because there were times I could be asleep. Like, it was somebody who would message me, and they knew that it was a time when I was working at night. I worked for myself and I was working at night. I wouldn't go to bed till like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 8 or 9. This person knew, because I've been doing it for years. This person knew that I was asleep, or there was a good chance that I was asleep. And they inspired me to turn on my Do Not Disturb. They really did. I've never turned on Do Not Disturb. Yeah, I started turning on Do Not Disturb a few years ago because of that person. I no longer talk to that person because they kept doing it. They kept pressing my boundaries. Like, they knew that I wasn't waking up until 2, sometimes 3. My body wouldn't let me sleep until 4 for some reason. Like, and my body would not let me sleep until 4 p.m. or 5 unless I was exhausted. But usually till 3 o'clock. Why are you calling me at 11? Just because you're on your lunch break. See how selfish that is? So, like, oh, girl, where were you? Child, I was asleep. I've been working this on my own schedule for the last 4 years, and you're acting shocked. I was knocked out. That shows that somebody does not respect your boundaries, and they're only thinking about themselves. I don't care what illness you got. I don't care. You're disrespecting somebody's boundaries. I don't know if you got to put it into practice 50 million times so you can get it through your head, but you are disrespecting somebody's boundaries. You're not a child. And if you are a child, you may need adult supervision. But as an adult, you need to learn how to respect people's boundaries, period. You need to learn. I don't know if you need to go through a class or whatever else, but you need to respect that when people say things, a lot of times they mean things. And I've been a difficult person, even with somebody who was equally as difficult, because that's the kicker. Being around somebody that's even more difficult than you are, and they try to push your boundaries over and over and over again. And I'm only difficult because when I say no, I mean it. Because it took me so many years to learn how to say no that I don't give a fuck how many tears you cry. I don't give a shit. If I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. And the amount of people I've had attempt to argue with me about that. Oh, that's so mean. Okay. Go to somebody else and have them do it because you're not getting that here. Though that's my boundary. I do not have to. No matter how much you want to whine and stomp your feet like you're four because your parents never told you yes, or maybe they told you yes too much. I'm not gonna lie, I'm spoiled. But here's the thing. I expect a yes from the people I know I'm gonna say yes. That's gonna say yes. The people who I know for a fact that's gonna say no, I don't ask. I don't ask, child. That's a part of being an adult, knowing who you can and can't do certain things with. So I have a little bit of grace with people because a lot of people don't know they have childhood trauma. Some people are in denial. I've known since I was a child. And that's not even bragging. That's how, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, how aware I've been since I was a child. I have always known what was going on with me. What I had to learn was, what do I do about it? How do I deal with it? That was always the difficult thing for me. I've always known. Even therapists used to say, because my ex used to try to pull that out of the bag. Well, you ain't in therapy. I said I was in therapy before you. Never mind. I was in therapy as a child, and every therapist I have ever been to has been like, you seem to have it under control. You know exactly what's going on with you. Because they didn't know that my issue was that I didn't know what to do with that information. And they didn't know how to help me. They were the wrong therapist for me. And there's a certain type of therapy that helps you with that. Is it talk therapy? It's something, because they've come out with new levels of therapy that I know are a lot more helpful. In that specific therapy type, or whatever you want to call it, if they had it when I was younger, if it was more openly done, oh, therapy would have really done me some good. So I had to therapize myself. And that shit was not fun. That shit was hard. So if you think that because you whine and cry, you stomp your feet, and you over the age of fucking 30 and 35, like you're 5, I don't have no empathy for you, baby. Because I went through hell mentally and physically, going through and processing shit. I could support you. And that's the thing. I had to realize that I had to do the work, and it was so hard. And I used to cry about that. I used to say to my ex, I was like, this shit is so fucked up. Like, I did not cause this trauma, but I have to fix this shit myself. Because he wanted to like carry the burden for me, and he was definitely somebody who loved how difficult I was. And by difficult meaning I stood firmly on my boundaries. When I didn't want to do shit, I'm not going to do it. But at the same time, hated it because I wasn't compliant. But when I was compliant, hated me even more. Lose. But I was like, it's so fucked up. I didn't cause my trauma, and I gotta be the one to fix it. He wanted to carry the burden, was like, well, let me help you. I'm like, you can't. Other than be there, I gotta do this myself. And I knew that around the age of 18, 19 years old. I knew that. I was like, nobody can, because nobody is in my head. Nobody can do this for me. Now, people can help you. Of course, it depends on what type of therapy you may need, or what type of therapy and work would help for you. But dealing with people who have trauma that they're not willing to admit that they have, don't know that they have, and because of, issues with perfectionism and stuff like that, they won't admit that they have and start to work through it, is just as difficult as being with people that they consider to be avoidant or difficult in general, or people who won't bend to their will. It's difficult as fuck. Ask me how I know. Like I said, I've been on the receiving end of that. When I was about 14 years old, I attempted to change someone, and she was very difficult. She was really immature. I mean, the baby was, she was kind of slow. And not slow in a remedial way. She wasn't slow in that sense, but literally like she was very innocent. I won't say slow. She was very innocent, but was trying to grow up too fast. Even to the point where some of the boys in our school was just like, calm down, shawty. Like, like even they were like, we're all teenagers, all too young to be doing what we doing or whatever. But they were like, even they could see that she needed to slow her roll, which is saying a lot. Because teenage boys, and where we grew up, teenage black boys was telling her to slow her roll. Like, shawty, chill out. Calm down. Like, no, I'm good. Like, she was throwing herself at them, because trauma, lack of attention and stuff. And they were just like, mm-mm. And I don't even think it was oh, they're not attracted to her because she's throwing herself at them. It was more of a, she's going to get hurt. Because they would tell me, they would be like, she going to get hurt. And I was, and I knew that too, which is so crazy to have that conversation. And she did eventually get hurt and have to learn the hard way. But I eventually stopped trying with her because I saw she was going to have to learn the hard way. Because I was like, even though I'm 14, I've always had to be the parent to either grown ass adults or my friends, which is why my boundaries are so strong now. Because I refuse to do that shit at this point in my life. Ask me the older I get. I'll share where I am in that experience. But nope. For 30 years, I was being the parent to everybody around me. And that was a part of my own boundaries and trauma that I had to work through. Because that was my part of getting people to be compliant. When I would care for people, not even just that. Half of it was people, I was difficult. Even as a young child, I had firm boundaries. If I didn't want to hug you, I'm not hugging you. That type of shit. Because I had firm boundaries, people treated me like shit, specifically adults. Well, not just adults, kids too. Because I wasn't moved and they couldn't threaten me into certain shit. They couldn't tease me into certain shit because I didn't actually value their opinion. But over time, they isolated me and attempted to make me feel as though I was a problem. And then the flip side of that was people around me would seem more quote unquote caring and like a community when I would overexert myself. I found a healthy balance because they needed that nurturing when they were younger that they never got it. So me giving it to them, they felt safe with me, but it felt like I was a parent, and I had been doing that since I was young. You know how exhausting that is to have to parent people, and not physically, not food, not financially, emotionally. You know how draining that shit was? People, it's so funny how people think that if it's not something physical, it's not serious. No, that shit was emotionally and spiritually draining to me. And my mother told me that she had a dream of me getting jumped, literally. It was a crowd of people, and they were all jumping somebody, literally stomping somebody out, and it was like a cloud of, she could just see fists and feet. And I was in the middle of it, and she said, I look bloody. I think she told me that I think it was after 19. And I think that was her and Spirit's way of letting her know how much shit I had been through. She thought it was stuff that I was going to go through. No, that was shit that I had been through in my life. So that was crazy that she had that dream. That was crazy. Dreams don't be lying sometimes, I swear. That was shit that I had been through. That's what it felt like spiritually and emotionally to get, like I was getting stomped out every fucking day of my life from childhood. And every single time somebody would stomp me out, they would take a little piece of nurturing. They would take a little piece of this, take a little piece of that. And when I said enough and I pulled out that shooter, now, oh, you doing too much. That was the type of energy I always got. So to hear that you're avoidant incorrectly, because it's a diagnosable thing, to hear that you're avoidant because you're not giving somebody what they want when they could just go get it from somebody else. They could see if they could get it from somebody else, but their own trauma won't let them. Calling you avoidant, or like you're detached, or you have communication issues. No, you have boundary issues. And what I had to learn was, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time, take myself out of the equation. Not allow people to make you feel like, oh, woe is me. I had such a rough childhood, and even though I seem nice and kind, I'm going to drain you of your energy. I'm going to consume every bit of you, and I'm going to hate you for it. And emphasis on consume every bit of you, because when you have healthy boundaries, people can only receive what you allow them to receive. I had to learn to be okay with being the bad guy. I've said this so many times. It's just the conversation keeps coming up. So I'm going to keep repeating myself. Right now it's currently a Cancer moon. So the fact that I think they just uploaded that video. I think he's a doctor too. Or he may be a therapist. I've also been purging a lot and moving a lot. And also purging other people's ideas of who I'm supposed to be and who I am. That's why I stand so firmly on my boundaries. And I'm so proud of how much work I've done over the last few years for people to be like, well, if you won't do this thing, then I'm going to have a problem with it. Oh, okay. Fine by me. Because I've seen even some of the most quote unquote victim of victimiest people, they wouldn't allow somebody to do that. Well, no, they would. 9 times out of 10, they probably would allow people to drain them of their energy. And they think that they're a good person for that. That's how trauma works. But if they saw somebody else getting drained of their energy, they would have a problem with it, yet they go and do it to other people. That's why the human mind is not black and white. It's all colors. It's actually gray, but, it's like a pinkish gray, but you know what I mean. Like I understand how people work. I understand how people's mentalities work. I see people. I've said before, I can see people's traumas. It's in their skin. It's in their face. It's in their eyes. It's in the way that they walk. Bob's Burgers. He's like, I had a really bad childhood. Linda said, yeah, I know. He's like, what do you mean you know? She was like, look at how you stand. People with good childhoods don't stand like that. I was like, Linda, felt. Yeah, exactly. She was like, I love you anyway, but yeah, I know your childhood sucked. I knew that when I met you. Like, I see people's childhood traumas to a certain degree. I may not know every detail, but I could see it. It's in the way they respond to things. It's in the way that they speak about certain things. It's in the way that they defend certain things. And I was defending some things from a victim mentality. I was. But I will say that Saturn's return, them ages between 27 and 32 really be shaping things. They really change your mind for the better or worse. Because my ex is now like 36, closer to 40. And that baby regressed. Literally. So, but you get more chances to work on yourself. It's not just a one and done, but it will get harder the older you get, because the more it's stuck in your ways you are a lot of times, depending on who you are as a person. So you may have to do a little bit more digging to get out of what you already learned versus somebody else. And it's just funny how, yes, we empathize with people who have childhood trauma, and it comes out in a way like a kitten who is purring because they want you to take them home and feed them milk and nurse them until they get older. But we don't talk enough about how that kitten can turn into a goddamn tiger. We don't talk about how the more they're met with chances to say goodbye to people, those difficult people that they try to manipulate, because that's really what it is. It's attempting to manipulate somebody, even if somebody's being difficult and they're not giving you affection and things, or the things that a healthy, safe relationship would require. You are still trying to manipulate them into what you want instead of going to see if you can find somebody to give who are willing to give you what you want. It's a form of manipulation. Not all manipulation is bad. We use certain words to make it sound that, we use certain words other than manipulation, but it's a form of attempted manipulation. It is. But it's manipulation usually for survival. But some people who don't get exactly what they want, no matter how nice they are, they can get really nasty. I'm grateful that I've never been that person. Like, I have thrown a temper tantrum or two. I absolutely have. But they can get really nasty in the sense that they will attempt to ruin your fucking life. There are people like that out there. I've also talked to people like that who don't want to believe that there are people out there like that because they view themselves in all situations. I no longer view myself, I don't view myself in all situations. I just view myself in my situation. So I can only speak for myself and the things that I experience and the people I come across. But it's some people who are a victim in every situation, even if it has nothing to do with them. And they want you to forever view them as a victim. Meaning they don't ever want you to ever say anything negative to them. They don't want you to call them out on their shit. And truth be told, I don't like being called out on my shit because you could just leave. I don't have a problem with how I act. I do not. So you could just leave. You can call me out on my shit and not consider it, depending on what it is. And that's where you can change and be compliant and bend to their will and they still won't like you or they even hate you even more. That's where that comes in. Because I have done the exact things that people have wanted me to do who had those traumas and needed a little bit of sense of control. And I let them get in the driver's seat, put the keys in the ignition, and they drove us right off a fucking cliff. So I'm like, do you see why I did not hand you the key? Did you see why I did not give you the gas to put on the grill? I did not give you the match because you didn't know what the fuck to do with it. They blew the whole side of the house up. Do you see why I did all the grilling? Do you see why I did all the cooking? Do you see why I don't let you use sharp knives? How the hell you get the knife through your skull is beyond me. But and it's because, like in the video, they said they're operating from a place of them still being stuck in their childhood. We go through periods when we're stuck in our childhoods. And it's so funny because I thought for a period I was stuck in my childhood and making decisions from my childhood. And that's where the rebellion was coming from, because that's what people try to make me feel like. Because that wasn't accurate for me. How I was going about it and expressing it was from my childhood. But the decisions that I was making and the people I was cutting off and the boundaries that I had, that was from my childhood in a good way. I've had people try to tell me, well, you're reacting because of your childhood. You're rebelling because of your childhood. No, actually, this is who I am. Now, the yelling because people aren't listening to me or they're not understanding me, that's gone. You don't understand me, I'm quiet. You want to yell at me or tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to shut up until you shut up. And then I'm going to decide if I need to say something. Or I'm like, okay, and I'm out. You don't get a rise out of me anymore. That's where I matured and where I grew up. But the decisions and the boundaries that I have now as an adult, over the age of 30, no. Those are boundaries that I had as a kid that people didn't respect. And realizing that is so sweet. It feels so good. I'm sitting in my new office chair, so I'm turning around. It feels amazing. I'm spinning in my new office chair. It feels so good to have this chair, y'all. I have been doing work sitting on my uncomfortable bed, because that bed is comfortable enough to sleep on, but not enough to sit on all day. And I was forced to do that while I was healing. My body was healing, and oh my God, I do not want to do it again. Which is why I've been careful to stretch my body, because I do know. But this chair is firm and soft at the same time, and it feels good. But no. The people who, because I've even had some of those folks on Twitter, and I used to be a social justice warrior too. I did. I used to scream about everybody having empathy and stuff for folk. Now I'm just like, respect people and treat people with kindness. And the empathy part comes in where I tell people, remember that you are not the only person in the world and you're not the only person that matters. Past that, I'm cultivating a community where my morals and my belief match the people around me. And those who don't, and those who are attempting to cause harm to me and mine, you gotta go. You are not welcome here. Period, point blank. I'm not pleading with anybody to see me. Just like I'm not pleading with anybody to protect me. Pleading with your oppressors will always have you assed out. Will always give you the short end of the stick. It's a trap. It's a power grab. It's a power game, and I refuse to do it. I refuse to do it because I know my power. But there are people who, you gotta have empathy for every person walking, every blade of grass. And I'm like, oh, honey, you need therapy really badly. It's okay because I did too. But I had to therapize myself. Yes, I said therapize. But you do. You think you don't, but you do. And while we at it, there's quite a few TikTok therapists who are on TikTok who have convinced everybody that if you don't kiss every flower that you walk past, you're a bad person. If you have healthy boundaries that don't include bending to the will of needy people, you're a terrible fucking person. And I don't agree with that. I don't fucking agree with that. Nope. I don't agree with that. Because I feel as though now they are saying that, and it helps with the people, it helps soothe the people who have those traumas. That's a good thing. But then those people who aren't going out and actually getting therapy to work through their shit, they are taking what those people are saying, just like anywhere else on the internet. They're taking what those people are saying and applying it to their relationship. So anybody who doesn't talk to them whenever they want to be talked to, anybody who doesn't interrupt their day for them, they call them a bad person. Because you need that balance. You might be saying that, but they're ignoring your other videos where you're talking about, baby, respect people's boundaries. Or they're only applying it to themselves because they are still in that victim mindset. It's not going to come well-rounded for them until they do that work. I've seen people literally cut out snippets of a good therapist, like saying, yeah, you need nurturing and stuff, but you also have to respect people's boundaries because people have other lives, so they can't cater to you in the way that you needed your mother to. And they will literally ignore that second part and only clip that first part, and it'll spread like wildfire because that's what people need to hear. But that's dangerous too. Either way, it's not my problem because my boundaries won't allow me to be friends with those type of people. It goes into even my work. I've had in my adult work, it's the same thing. I've had people who attempted to guilt me, saying, "Oh, I hurt myself. I injured myself. Oh, I'm sick. I'm sick. Give me your videos for free." And I'm like, baby, if you sick and you ain't got no money, this type of content is not what you need to be worried about. Your priorities are all fucked up, and that's not my problem. So those people want you, they want you to bend to their will because they want what they want. But they also think that makes them a good person because, quote unquote, I'm a victim. Because, quote unquote, something bad happened to me. No, baby, you might be a victim, but you're also taking advantage of somebody else's kindness or attempting to take advantage of somebody else's kindness. That does not make you a good person. That don't make you the good person you think you are, huh? You are not a good person. Except the only thing is, you're not okay with not being a good person. I am. Or not being viewed as being a good person. I am. Because guess who sleeps very well at night? I had somebody tell me, oh, you seem very mean. And it was on my other page. Was it on my mentor page? No, it was before I switched over to my mentor page. And one of the models was like, oh, I'm broken. I need money, and you're so experienced, but you won't tell me what to do and you won't give me this, that, and the third. And I said, point, click, post. I didn't say it like that, but I literally, that's what I told her. Prior to that, she basically wanted me to do it herself, do it myself for her. I was like, baby, that's not my problem. Oh, y'all, this community is so selfish, and y'all supposed to do this, and y'all supposed to do that. Baby, my internet, my coochie is all over the internet, and will be there forever. If your coochie ain't all over the internet and it won't be there forever, I'm not helping you. I'm not helping you more than I already have, babes, because your stakes, my stakes are not as, that's the stakes that I have are not as high as, yours are not as high as mine. The shit that you had to deal with over the last 10 years of my career, you haven't had to deal with yet. So, no, I don't feel bad for you. Because I told you what to do. But you want me, with all of the risks that I have, my face and my internet, my face and my hoo-ha and everything is all over the internet. People can match the cooch to the vagina. The cooch to the vagina. I can't talk today, y'all. Can match the face to the cooch. And I am not ashamed of that at all. Somebody said they've seen my stuff. I'm like, did you pay for it? Stick out my hand. like the gross sisters. Where's my money? So I'm not ashamed at all. Nobody can make me feel ashamed. But you have yet to even scratch the surface of what I had to deal with and go through. I can donate to your, the shit that you're dealing with, but you basically want me to hand over what I've worked for to you. Well, you haven't even scratched the surface of half the shit that I had to do. And the shit that I've done is against the law. It's against it. Some of the shit that I've done is against the law, babes. So no. I'm going to need you to go get a W-2. Because now I don't feel bad for you. When I can't do this and I can't do that. And y'all so mean, baby. The amount of hours that I've had to work and stress and all this other type of stuff, I earned the right to say no. And then it would always be white. It would always be white ones. It would always be the white people attempting to take from me. Baby, my people earn the right to say fuck you and fuck no. Fuck you mean. And that's another thing. It goes back to Christianity and religion. Getting people to bend to their will, love thy neighbor, forgive people, forgive your abuser or your master or whatever the fuck. That only benefits the people whose will you bend to. It doesn't benefit the people who it benefits the people who doing the bending. It don't benefit the people who's the ones bending over. It never does. It's a trick and a trap. No matter how much of a victim you are, people play into that when they don't get their way. Even some people that I know of and have heard who genuinely have valid traumas. Because, we all do. But they will attempt to harass and berate and annoy the fuck out of people because they won't do what they want them to do. They won't follow the directions that they want them to follow because they need control. When they could literally go and find somebody else who is willing to of course they can't see that, you have to see it. But they will rather go with the most difficult person. And then if they get somebody calm and patient, they don't know what the fuck to do. And I get that. I understand. Oh, I fully understand. I can understand, because I usually understand both sides, which I hate sometimes. I hate being able to see both sides sometimes, child. Oh, it's the Sagittarius energy. I hate it. Because I want to be like, no, fuck you. But I know where it stems from, and I know why they do it. But they could be terrorizers too. And when the people, it's the other person's responsibility to pull back and say no and literally block and all that. But you're made to look at them as the most terrible person if you stop talking to someone, if you break up with them and stuff because they're trying to control you. That's where the flip go. oh, you're not listening, and I need you to do this and I want you to do that. Yeah, but you're not listening either. If I'm not willing to budge, I'm not willing to budge. I don't give a fuck how much you want me to, or even how much it would be good for me to. That's a part of people's boundaries. If they get left behind, they get left behind. And that's okay. That's especially if they're the adults. That's their life to live, not yours. That's what I had to learn. I had to learn to let people go. Oh, and trust me, I've let people go. That's why my ex, who would always pop back in and try to manipulate and whine and cry and I love you his way back into my life, he always played the nice guy role. And past a certain point, he was not a nice guy. He was a terrorist. But Virgo. But but that's why I think he wasn't talking to me. I mean, he has yet to pop up back in my life in terms of like trying to message me, because I let him know. I said I let my godfather go. I knew if I let him go, he would die. I'm gonna let y'all sit and marinate on that. I knew for years, like it took about 2 years, because I was genuinely trying to care for him, and it was stressing me the fuck out because I couldn't fully care for myself after my mom died. I had to choose me. I knew that if I let him go, and I couldn't have a conversation with him, because I've had people also say, to those who are avoiding uncomfortable conversations, you're not choosing your peace. You're a coward. I don't always agree with that. There are some people who are absolutely a coward, and there are some people you can't even say one word to because they will blow up your phone. They will show up at your house 50 million times, and they might do that, even if you do say something. Which is why you have to have discernment. I know who I could do that with. But I could not have that type of conversation with my godfather because he was going to try to keep holding on to hope that I was going to call him back. That I was going to reach back out to him. I had to cut him off, no contact. And a few months later, he ended up passing. Well, it was a little bit more than a few months later. It was definitely closer to about 6 months to a year. He was already in bad shape. And that had literally nothing to do with me. He was not holding on very well. He was only holding on because of my mother. My mother ended up, was the love of his life. I said, you don't know. My mother was the love of his life. But also he had issues with his mother. So it was the mommy, it's that weird shit. He was feeding off of our energy. He didn't mean to, but he was. And the moment I took my energy back, not only did I get my energy, I really did. It took a little while, but I did. He ended up dying. So I knew my ex knew when the last time I ever talked to him, I let him know what was going on with my godfather or whatever, and what happened. I said I knew I had to let him go. And I think that kind of shook him to his core, because we would never go a day without me talking about my godfather, ever. Whatever times I didn't talk to him and that was my spirit let me know I needed to let him go. But he was like, damn. But the damn was like guttural. Like, he was like, you let him go? Damn. And I wonder if he sat back and actually thought about that. Well, yeah, he did, because then he started acting an ass and started attempting to do exactly what I was talking about. Try to even control me even more, even though we hadn't, we were no longer together. Because he knew I meant business. Some people you have to even set boundaries with without even speaking to people. Sometimes you have to set boundaries with other people through other people by letting them watch you and how you move and how you deal with other people. Sometimes that's how you set boundaries with people, because some people don't hear it when you speak it. That's one of the things that irks. Not everybody takes verbal cues even directly. Some, like I said about the friend who knew I would sleep until like 3 o'clock, or I would be up until like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. and they would still call me at like 10 or 11 just simply because they want a break. Some people do not hear you. And I wish we would stop. I wish people would stop pretending that that's the case. Some people don't hear you. Because the most important thing that they have going on is what they have going on. And they think they're a good person and a good friend and a good this, that, and the third because they're only operating from a place of their own trauma. So they can only think that they're a good person from where they stand or a good friend from where they stand. It doesn't even have to be a good friend. It could be, they think they understand boundaries. Sometimes you got to get in people's face to express those boundaries for them to take it seriously. Sometimes you got to cuss people out. Sometimes you got to pull out I've definitely had to do that a few times. And some people you just have to stop talking to. There are levels. There's also something new with the therapy world. And I say therapy world not with actual therapists, but people who follow therapy, TikTok and stuff. They see things as just black and white. And I'm like, they're different. You handle different people differently. You can't always handle everybody. You can't handle everybody the same. Because different people have different traumas. Different people process certain things differently. Some people need to hear messages a certain way. And some people just flat out don't give a fuck. Some people will keep doing the shit that they will do. Because I'm noticing a rise in that lately. And they don't ever give a fuck about anybody else. Now that's a empathy thing. And also, narcissism, childhood trauma, all that good shit. Sometimes you literally just got to get up and walk away with some people. And some people you can't say anything to. Because you can talk until you blue in the face and they just still won't get it. And sometimes it's not even because they don't want to. They get it. They just don't want to accept it. Ooh. Damn it, I dropped my top. Sometimes they get it. They just don't want to because it's not the answer they want. It's not what they accept. That's dumb. That's stupid. Oh, yeah, some people are dumb and stupid. And some things are not supposed to make sense to you. Once you know these things, you take it and you apply it. If somebody won't operate the way you want them to, you have the choice, unless it's a situation where you are dependent on them, outside of being emotionally dependent, or if you're financially dependent, you have the choice to walk away. Now you could choose to stay for survival. That's fine. But there are those difficult people. Those people are difficult too. Those people who need to try to change difficult people, they're being difficult as well. Because they could absolutely just get up and walk away and go find somebody else. But they don't want to. And again, I say that is not my problem. I currently am not a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, any of that shit. I am just a mere maiden who likes to talk and observe people. It feels good to sit in this chair and not be uncomfortable. Glory be to Goddess. To the goddesses.